Hey guys, Stock Saturday, and it's a slightly red week for me. About 2,000 down. Seems to be largely tech stocks slightly outperforming. Alphabet and Meta doing quite well, and the semiconductor side sort of dropping off a little. Hymax taking quite a big hit. Taiwan Semiconductor slightly less bad hit. Broadcom sort of coming down a little. Micron coming down quite a bit. So, yeah, not sure what's going on in semiconductors particularly. After sort of have a bit of a look at the news, but haven't seen anything sort of too alarming. Have made a few changes, which I may as well get straight to. So I've traded my Hive blockchain holding for CleanSpark. So sort of looking between the two, I've been having a look at sort of various crypto miners really, and decided that they were a bit better value. And I also got sort of accumulation of a little bit of dividends, sort of got about 250 quid's worth sort of come in there in the ISA. So Trading212 ISA put a little bit into CleanSpark as well, 110 shares. Not very good timing. It's already down 11%, but I didn't really buy it to try and catch the bottom. This was more a sort of 18-month to 2-year hold, really. Thinking sort of Bitcoin should be in a reasonable spot after the halving, and they seem quite sort of well positioned to capitalise on that. So I do think CleanSpark probably deserve their own video just to sort of get back into the crypto miners and sort of give you my thoughts on them, maybe a bit of a spreadsheet. So I'll try and do that sort of over the next week if possible, possibly Monday. But yeah, they're sort of fairly small market cap, 190 million. They're a sort of going for growth miner. They don't hold barely any Bitcoin on the balance sheet. They don't have a lot of debt, which is pretty good, but they sort of fund the growth through dilution. So a lot of people are sort of very unhappy about the dilution, but I don't think they're really understanding sort of how it works. It's sort of what you're getting for that dilution. I think the people maybe sort of expect them just to grow and grow out of thin air. I mean, they either take on debt or sell shares if the Bitcoin price isn't all that high. Now it's sort of getting to a reasonable price. They should be making a little out of it, and they can start sort of funding some of their operations and expansion through a little bit of profit on Bitcoin. But yeah, otherwise, for the big projects, they've chosen to dilute. Just a quick look at their news. As I say, I'll sort of go into this in a little bit more detail in the CleanSpark video. But yeah, 598 Bitcoin mined for the month, which is pretty good. It's up there with what Riot Blockchain and Marathon are mining. So that's pretty good. Total Bitcoin holding, as I say, 196, where others sort of have thousands, getting on for 10,000. People like Hut 8 and I can't remember what Riot Blockchain have got, but they hold quite a lot. CleanSpark basically don't hold any. They're selling everything pretty much to fund growth, and this is sort of what you would want from a miner, really, to be a leveraged play on the underlying commodity. If you sort of holding a load of Bitcoin and Bitcoin price goes up, then you're just getting the value of that Bitcoin going up rather than sort of the potential to mine more. So yeah, with other miners, it's not necessarily a leveraged play. It is just Bitcoin itself going up. But yeah, good news from them is they're at sort of 6.6 exahash, I believe, at the moment, but they've already purchased new machines that should be able to get them to 8.7 sort of within the next couple of months, and their sort of calendar year-end goal is 16 exahash. So that is what they will need the dilution for. And with the Bitcoin halving coming in around April, obviously the amount of Bitcoin they'll get will get cut in half. So they want to grow to offset that, basically. So maybe they'll still be mining sort of 600 Bitcoin even after the halving. But yeah, that was my sort of switch to them. I'll do a little bit more detail on this, but I thought for a sort of, as I say, 18-month to 2-year hold, that was a reasonable price, accepting that, you know, it might drop lower. I bought it at sort of 260 odd in the IG ISA, and yeah, it's come down to 244. Could go at $2, could go at $1, to be honest. But I'm sort of looking at the long term, expecting hopefully double figures, if not well into double figures. I have a sort of bullish position at the moment. Still a little bit unsure as to sort of whether to push some money towards this or more sort of crypto miners, is gold and silver. I've obviously got my bond position at the moment still, the 3-year treasury position at 13,000. So yeah, a little bit sort of unsure as to whether to maybe sell some of that down and put a little bit more into CleanSpark and maybe some into silver miners. So you've got the gold price sort of almost touching new highs in dollars. Did sort of get a little bit higher in the mid-2020s and is sort of already well above the 2011 bull market high. So it's looking pretty good, and the miners so far haven't really been following sort of all this much. They obviously have rising costs, so you know, if the gold price is exactly the same as it was in 2011, it's costing them an awful lot more to mine it than what it was back then. So you do need a higher price to offset that cost. But I think they're still looking pretty good. And this is in dollars. If you actually look at it in pounds, it's a very different story. It's already sort of breaking a new all-time high. The previous 2011 high was much, much lower. So this is sort of because of the pound devaluing, really. It's even broke the 2020 high, and yeah, we're at sort of a new all-time high already. Just flick on to the yearly here. Yeah, so the sort of absolute high was the 24th of March, but we're basically there, and the silver price at the moment isn't sort of quite following as quick. People would often say silver would be sort of lagging behind gold, but would then accelerate faster than gold once it really starts to sort of get going. And if you sort of look at the 2011 bull market, it really did sort of go crazy, up to nearly $50 intraday sort of trading, and sort of mid-40s on a sort of constant basis. And we're at sort of just pushing $25. So over 10 years later, we're sort of nowhere near just yet. And if you look at the sort of gold-silver ratio, so this is how many ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold, it's still sort of at a reasonably historically high level. Again, sort of in the 2020 high, went absolutely crazy, up to sort of the mid 120s. But it has spent an awful lot of time sort of over the past sort of 30-40 years in around the 50 to 60 range, and it's 80, just around about 80 at the moment. So the idea is if gold is sort of going up, then silver would be going up at a faster rate, and this ratio would come down. And then the silver miners obviously are a leveraged play on the silver price, so it's sort of gold on steroids, if you like. And yeah, sort of longer term, sort of on a 18-month, again, 2-year time horizon, I would be sort of pretty bullish on the silver miners. But yeah, unsure whether to sort of sell down some of that cash position or sort of treasuries position, and maybe go for a bit of silver miners. But let me know your thoughts on sort of how you think that mix should be. Just looking at the news for the week, so you've had the ISM data come out, was sort of all fairly negative, all under 50, which is sort of contraction, anything under 50, so that wasn't very positive. Then you had the non-manufacturing PMI, so with the sort of US being not really a manufacturing country anymore, they tend to look at the non-manufacturing overall PMI as a sort of reasonable indicator of whether they're sort of heading into recession or not. And that was worse than expected, 51 compared to 54, but it is still over 50, so it's not sort of signalling contraction, but there you go. And the sort of prices were worse than expected. Everything was sort of worse than expected, really. But yeah, it's not below 50s just yet. You had the sort of horrendously volatile house price indexes. The Halifax was sort of 1.2% last month on the monthly, and was forecast to be negative, and that was 0.8%. So even on the annual, it sort of nearly went negative and is back to 1.6% up on the yearly again. So no sort of immediate crash in house prices just yet. It's still looking rough, and still the sort of millions of people due to remortgage onto much higher rates. So I still think there's a bit of roughness ahead for the UK housing market in particular, not so much the US. And then Thursday had the jobs data, not looking all that good. Big spike in continuing jobless claims, and a sort of a little spike in initial ones. So some people going into unemployment. But then you had on Friday the non-farm payrolls, which was almost bang on expectations, a little bit lower than last month. Last month's has been adjusted upwards slightly, so that's fair enough. But then you had the unemployment rate lower than expected, so 3.5%, which is sort of long-term lows pretty much. Was expected to be 3.6, same as last month, and it's come down slightly. So bit of a conflict with those jobless claim numbers, but yeah, I expect the Fed will be sort of looking at this and thinking we're not doing enough just yet. So who knows? You could even get another increase in interest rates in May in their meeting. So that'd be bold. So that's the portfolio for the week, really. As I say, sort of dividends coming in, and quite a few more dividends to come in over the next week or two. A fairly big one from Sylvania Platinum, my little baby, and that's about £330, I think. So hopefully that will be sort of getting a decent price on CleanSpark. I'll probably just put it into that and make this a sort of a bit of a larger position. Obviously the fairly large position already in the IG ISA, but yeah, it'd be nice. And that was just swapping from Hive blockchain, really, so it's not really count that as a new position, but this is actually increasing the position, so that's good. And sort of any dividends in the invest account at the moment are largely getting withdrawn and sort of put into real crypto or possibly options, which at the moment I'm kind of looking at Bitcoin miner options. Been buying some bit farms, which would prefer to buy CleanSpark ones, but the share price is a little higher, so it doesn't really work quite as well for cheap options. But yeah, either way, crypto miner options for sort of January 2025 after the halving. So that's a nice little sort of bit of fun on interactive brokers. I don't show them here because I can't bring up the tickers, and I'd rather just sort of keep that side a little bit quiet until sort of things get a little bit better. It's not a huge amount of money, sort of 500 quid's worth. But yeah, interesting. So leave your thoughts in comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.